for the uninitiated, behind me are two Ford Cortinas, both in white, both with a green stripe. For those who actually know what these cars are, the racing pedigree and history of successes in racing and rallying is probably a pretty good reason why your father had one when you were at school and you remember growing up with them. Of course, what I'm talking about here is the Ford Lotus Cortina. I've got two of them behind me, a Mark 1 and a Mark 2. My name is Paul and I'd like to show you around. So I don't normally show two cars at the same time, but I think it warrants it in this case. Both cars have come up for sale at the same time. We can sell them as a pair or individually. Both rather interesting, rather pretty, and have quite a following. So the Mark 1 is a 1966. The Ford Motor Company made the shells, gave the shells to Lotus. Lotus built the Twin Cam Cortina, and it was very affectionately known very quickly as the Lotus Cortina. In white with a green stripe, as you can see. It was the engine was just slightly smaller than a 1.6, twin overhead cam and two Weber carburetors. You can see here, if you know what the Mark 1 Cortina looked like as a standard car, you can see straight away this looks lower, it looks more aggressive. And it is. The suspension, the engine, everything was all designed very much with rallying and racing in mind. And it was incredibly successful. There are a number of drivers, I can't remember the names of all of them, but there's one that I can definitely remember, and I'm sure most other people can, and that's Jim Clark, who was an absolute hero in this car. The suspension setup was pretty stiff. There's lots of videos of Jim Clark coming through corners on racetracks with the front wheel, inside front wheel, high in the air, and he used to streak ahead of everybody within the first 2 laps. An absolute genius behind the wheel. And he really put these on the map. And of course, win races at the weekend, sell cars the following week, and that's what happened. So I certainly remember lots of Cortinas growing up. I remember lots of fathers having them, being very proud of them, polishing them every weekend, and sons and daughters being very proud of what their father owns. And this is definitely one of those cars. So bodywork wise, I'm just going to walk around it. Obviously it's had restoration at some point. It's not a completely recent restoration, which I think is a very good thing, because with a very recent restoration, if the restoration hasn't been done properly, then after a short period of time, bubbles and that sort of thing start to come through. This one is a restoration that happened a little while ago. So if there were going to be any bubbles coming through, you'd see them. We've got a ramp here. We've seen both of them up in the air. They're both very solid underneath. And we've also sent them to Ren Classics for a check over and a tune up. And they sound and feel wonderful. Definitely a car to drive. There's many car shows that I've been to, and I've got classic cars myself, and I do go to a lot of car shows. The following for these is incredible, and the people who know them and own them and buy them and drive them know probably an awful lot more than I do about them. It's just that kind of car. Now, I'm just going to get in, try and show the condition of the bodywork. There is no substitute for coming to look at a car yourself. So if you are even thinking about being in the market for one of these, I would definitely say come down and have a look. We do have a ramp. You'll be more than welcome to come and have a look, and we put it on the ramp for you if we have a little bit of notice. Now the bonnet release is in here. I'm going to try and do this with one hand, holding the camera with the other. So underneath here we have one Lotus Twin Cam engine with Weber carburetors that you can see there. And if I just pan the camera around and show you, you can see the engine bay is all very nice. The underside of the bonnet, all the way around. Now I could put that in fact I'm going to try and do that now. Hold on a second. Put the bonnet stay down. There we go. Now I'm free to walk around. So yeah, as I say, so Lotus Twin Cam sounds amazing. The Weber carburetors, unlike the SUs that were very commonly used at the time, the SUs used to sort of gravity feed the fuel. The Webers have an accelerator pump which squirts neat fuel into the intake, and that gives you a lot better acceleration, making this a much better accelerating car than it would be with standard carburetors. Look at the manifolds down there. You can see these manifolds are tuned to scavenge the exhaust fumes, which helps to exit the exhaust fumes from the engine more quickly, which means that the combustion time, the combustion is more efficient within the engine, which again leads to much better performance. A very nicely thought out performance engine. And I've got to say, for the size, I think it's 1598 cc's. For the size, it does feel pretty potent. The car itself isn't a heavy car, so it really does feel lively. It sounds good, and it's not a complicated scenario or an engine to work on, to maintain if you're an owner. Right, give me a second. I'm just going to take the bonnet down again. I will start it up in a bit. And all the gaps there all look very nice. The wheels are in lovely condition. Of course, Jim Clark, he really did put these on the map, and the other drivers did as well. Such a pretty thing. I wouldn't say it's absolutely concourse and undrivable. I would say this is definitely a car that you can drive. Move to the inside. And then we have a lovely condition door card. That's actually a really cool dashboard as well. Nice wood rimmed steering wheel, 3-spoke. The original style vinyl seats. The seats will move forward. It's got silver seat belts. There's a box file of information, service history and that sort of thing in there, MOTs and such like. We put rubber, well, the owners put rubber mats in there over the carpets. Centre armrest. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, there's a reflection, but there's a Lotus insignia on the gear lever. The mileage shows 33,988. There's no way we can incorporate that. So, but I think a car of this age, whatever the reading is on there, is pretty relevant anyway. But all the way around the inside, it's looking nice. So it is a driver rather than, it doesn't show like a brand new car, but it shows like a very good car. We've got the handbrake, which goes on and off by pulling like that. Your heater controls are down there. You can see the little badge and the chrome gate, all the lights, and I do love the Smith dials. They're very period correct. So I'm going to turn on the engine. So while it's not warm, so there'll still be some cold running going on there, but nice smooth power delivery. You can see what's going on with the dials there. I'm not going to give it lots of revs because it's a cold engine and that's not fair to it. But you can see it's completely on the button. It drives really well. I'm just going to turn it off again. It's on the button, it drives really well, it looks nice, it feels nice. This is a car that you can very comfortably take to a meet, to Goodwood, anywhere where there are like-minded people. You could definitely take this car to. Very pretty looking car. And a great car to use. It's being 4 cylinders, it's not going to be horribly expensive to run. It's nice and easy to work on and to maintain. And it's got a huge history and a huge cool factor. So I'm going to move away from that one now. Now this is the Mark II. So the Mark II, this is a 1968 model. Again, it was badged as a Cortina Twin Cam, as you can see there. It's got the same colour code with the same green flash down the side, the same style wheels. Now these cars were derived from the Cortina GT. Now the Cortina GT had a very robust body and chassis, and they were raced in their own right. These weren't built at Lotus, these were built at Ford, but the development was a collaboration certainly. The suspension was tried and tested and uprated, so you had an A-frame suspension at the rear on that one, and then you've got an upgraded suspension here, so that it was designed so that it would handle really nicely on the road as a performance saloon, albeit a 2-door saloon, and you could buy a performance options package which could then emulate the full race car. So what that told the buyer at the time was that the only difference between this and the car that won races was a performance package, which was right. This particular car, again, we've had this one up on the ramp as well. It's incredible underneath. It's absolutely incredible underneath. The paintwork, again, it's not it wasn't restored a year or two ago. It was longer than that. It does have the Robusto roof. So you can see there's some weathering on some of the rubbers. But essentially, a very, very sharp car, and a car anyone would be proud to own, proud to take to any club event, any car meet. If I look in underneath here, now we haven't been anywhere near this car with the jet wash, that's how it is. This is how the car came. The chrome is in nice shape. So the bumpers are nice and shiny. All the gaps are nice all the way around. I'll open the bonnet of this one in a minute. I'm just going to try and home in on all the parts that I would like someone to home in on if I was looking at a video. This isn't an extensive appraisal, but I'm going to try and give you as much information as I can about the condition of this car. I've taken photos of the inside of the boot on both cars. It's got a bald tyre in it, so that the spare tyre does need to be replaced. But this wouldn't look out of place in any collection. The condition and presentation is just superb. As I say, I think a lot of the people who know and love these will probably know an awful lot more about the technical aspects of it than I do, because I have met quite a few. Again, you've got a push button here which releases, and then lift that up. And then here we have, bear with me a second, I'm just going to put the bonnet stay down. There we go. So looking along the front edge of the bonnet, all looking nice. All the way down the underside. God, it's a lovely day today. Started off chilly this morning with a lot of frost, but it's warming up nicely. And there you have that Lotus Twin Cam. Black cam covers this time, but the same design as in 2 Webers. And it's a later air filter box, which looks very much like a rear silencer, but it was designed to be very easy to change the air filters when the car was on a racing series. But it also helped to cut down induction roar from the carburetors. I'm just going to scan around the inside so you can see. Try and keep the camera as clear as I can. Some reservoirs for the brakes. And you can see there. Again, this isn't a restoration that was done 10 minutes ago. It was done a little while ago. And I like that fact very much because, as I say, it does mean if anything was going to happen, if anything was going to bubble through, it would have happened by now. Very tidy, lovely engine bay, and the engine is, as I say, the engine's just fantastic. It's got a nice bark to it. The accelerator pumps on the carburetors give you a nice amount of torque, decent acceleration. It does drive and feel like a very sporty engine. Okay, bear with me a second while I just drop the bonnet. There we go. And then bonnet closed again. Just scan in the front, all nice and straight. Now I'm sure a lot of these didn't make it through their life unscathed, so there are varying degrees of cars out there with differing gaps and what have you, from spirited driving and maybe the odd faux pas here and there. This one presents extremely well, extremely well. So moving to the inside, very similar feel to what we had with the Mark 1. The use of vinyl in the door cards, vinyl in the seats. In fact, the seat will move forward, although you've got to push that in to move it forward. I'm going to do that push and lift at the same time, which when you're holding a camera or phone camera is a little bit of a challenge. And you can see we've got some mats front and rear here as well. I'll just let that drop down. So it's the leather bound steering wheel as opposed to wood. With this car you've got a more modern than the Mark 1 dashboard, but with the center dials. I love those. It's a beautiful, easy to see readout. You can glance from your driving to see what's happening with the engine at any point, which is always a good thing when you're driving a rally car. Heat controls there, what have you. There's no stereo fitters in here, although there is a bracket. The glove box has opening and shutting the same as the other car, and it has the same type of handbrake or parking brake. So I just check to make sure that it's in neutral. So let the oil come up. So again, it's a cold engine, so I haven't pre-warmed the engine at all. It just starts. So a very nice, smooth power delivery and a nice sounding engine. No nasty mechanical sounds. under the bonnet it sounds good, out of the exhaust it sounds lovely. A very rewarding car. You've got a wind deflector for when the roof is open. I haven't opened the roof, to be honest. It has been fairly cold here until today, but a nice clean sounding engine note. I'll turn that off. Engine cuts off nice and cleanly. Both cars on the button, jump in and drive them. A little bit more force required. And that is the Mark II. So the Mark II obviously is the later model. A few improvements in terms of the handling, more modern suspension, some more modern bodywork. It was built by Ford as opposed to the Mark I, which was assembled by Lotus, but both huge characters, huge following. The people who know and love them know them intimately. And what a lovely, lovely pair of cars, and a nice surrounding to show them in. So they've just come up for sale. They can be bought individually or as a pair. For full details, please visit our website www.bramshawbv.com. Either pop us an email, drop us a text, or drop us a WhatsApp, or pick up the phone and speak to us. We'd love to talk to you about it. What I would say with these cars, that with any old car, come and have a look at them. If you're interested, if you're anywhere close to buying one, come and have a look. Okay? Thank you very much for watching.